Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And today I want to talk about high school reunions. It's kind of strange how this topic came up for me to talk about. So, as many of you might know, I am in the middle of doing a weight loss journey, and I'm documenting it on my Peter Does Stuff channel. So, I do like weekly updates over there and talk about what the last week has been like, and my walking and drinking water, and I share how much weight I've lost or gained, and what my weight is for the week, and what I've eaten, and things like that. But it's overall kind of like just a healthy living. It's not just about losing the weight. It's about me being in the best health that I possibly can be in. And that includes like my mental health and my physical health and my dental health and everything. It includes all of it, right? And being active and making better, like, eating choices and things like that. Eating foods that not only like make me happy, but make me feel happier and, are more conducive to healthy living and things like that. So anyway, it's a whole journey that I'm doing over my Peter Does Stuff channel. So I was reading through the comments. I think it was on that channel. If it was on that channel, it was on this channel, but it was one of the twos, but it was on one of the two, but I'm almost positive it was on that channel. And I did this video with my weight loss update. And somebody commented, and they said that their high school reunion was coming up, I think in the fall. And so they wanted to join me in doing this weight loss journey because they wanted to lose weight for their high school reunion. And it like totally took me back to when I went to my 20-year high school reunion years ago. And so I thought, when I first saw it, I screenshot the comment, and I was gonna like read it over here, but it's a very like personal comment of sharing stuff. So I thought, no, I'm just gonna kind of like address this overall, because I think this is like an interesting thing, right? And this is something that I've actually done for years, where I have attempted to lose weight for certain reasons, whether that's like an event that's coming up, or like, for years and years and years, I've always said, we go to Ultra Music Festival in Miami every March, and for years I've always said, like in October, oh, by March I'm gonna be like, this weight, and whatever. I was always fixated on this weight and this image that I had in my head of like looking a certain way and all this kind of stuff, right? And that I was gonna be so thin and yada yada yada, right? And it was always that fixation. It was never really about being healthy or being happy. It was always just like, I would be happy if I was this weight. And it's interesting when I look back on my life, because I have been all kinds of weights. I've been the heaviest I've been the lowest I've been, and that never really equated ever to my happiness. I was never, as somebody that has body dysmorphia, I was never really happy with wherever I was at, because it was really about what was going on inside. But specifically when I got this comment about the high school reunion, it took me back to going to my high school reunion, my 20 year. And so it was shortly, so I graduated in 90, so that would have been 2010. Alex and I got together in the fall of 2008, well, August of 2008. So we would have been together for, I don't know, like a year or two at that point. And I had decided that I was going to go to my high school reunion. My high school reunion, I had gone to, I think it was it was either my 5 or my 10 year. I went to it originally. I went with one of my good friends years and years and years ago. And it was very much, still at that point, it was kind of like, the popular people all sat together over here, and they all had their inside jokes, and those of us sat, I literally sat like in the hall most of the time with this girl that I went with the girl that I went with, that I was friends with, all through my education, and then this girl that we were friends with and partied with in high school and stuff like that. It was just like literally she and her husband, and then the two of us, we sat out in the hall and talked most of the time. And I can remember leaving there, and I was like, I'm never gonna go to another high school reunion again, And in fact, like, we paid like $60 for tickets to go to this thing. It was like this sit-down, very dressy dinner. I'll never forget, because at that point, I was like, I am not going to this thing unless I look great. And this was at the epitome of like me running every day and like lifting weights. I'd already been doing that when I decided to go. And that was probably like the best I've ever looked in my entire life. And I remember when I went, I wore a pair of like boot cut, slimmer jeans with like construction boots, and this was back in my heyday. I would have been, late 20s at this point. Sober, thought I looked great. My hair was full, faux hawk, and all this kind of stuff. And I wore this Carhartt t-shirt that was like form-fitting. I'll never forget. We show up, there's all these people in like suits and dresses and stuff, and I'm like, we are way underdressed. So anyway, and I can remember we paid like $60 to get into this thing, and we left early, and they gave you like this book that had like everybody's picture from graduation in it, and like where they were today and all this kind of stuff in it. I can remember we went to Applebee's afterwards, and she and I sat down at Applebee's, and we were like eating, we like rolled through this, and we're like talking about people, and I'll never forget, she like threw it across the table. She's like, all this for $60. And that was it, right? And so I kind of vowed like after that that I was never going to go back to another high school reunion. But a lot of things had changed at the 20 year. You know, I had really come into my own. I had really worked on my own self-concept. I had really worked on being bullied a lot. And in fact, at that point was when my biggest bully had reached out to me, and we had like made amends, or he had made amends to me, and we had like worked things out and whatever. And so I was kind of at this place of forgiveness. But I also wanted to really have my Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion moment. Like, I wanted to show up and just let them all know that they never got to me. Like, for some reason, that was really important to me at that moment. Like, I wanted to show up. I wanted to look the best I'd ever looked. I wanted to just, like, be like, hey, listen, you never got to me, right? And so I went with my husband, and I went with another friend. Not the original friend that I went with, but this other friend. And we went, and so I can remember it was like outside this patio at Champ's restaurant, which no longer exists up here anymore. There's one downtown, but there wasn't. The one up here was on this lake. And so it was outside, and they had like a live band and stuff like that. And I remember I showed up, and like the president of the class was like who was signing people in. When we went to the initial one at 10 years, like nobody really talked to me, nobody really acknowledged me and things like that, right? I remember we had these name tags that had like your picture with your name on it, but like we didn't get our tickets early, so ours didn't have our picture on it, so some people didn't even know who we were. I mean, people knew who I was, but they didn't know who my friend was and stuff like that, because I was so bullied in high school and junior high and growing up that, I mean, like most people knew. I was like always the butt of the joke. And so I can remember like before we were leaving to go to this thing, I was like like 20 years, I was so scared to go. I looked fantastic, had these like, you know, vintage ripped jeans, I had this vintage like Western shirt on. I thought I looked so good. I did look good. I look back at those pictures and I was like, you looked damn good, right? And I was like, I was so scared to go, because I didn't want a repeat of what had happened before where nobody paid me any attention, and just like, again, reiterated to me that I didn't matter, you know? And I think that was what I got from the 10 year was like, I didn't matter when I was growing up. People made fun of me, and I didn't matter at the reunion, and they all did this and they don't care, and it's affected me so greatly. And that was part of why I wanted to show up, but I was so scared. I can remember Alex like in the kitchen standing there and saying like, you're either going to go or we're not going to go, but like you got to make a decision. And I was like, okay, let's just go. So we went, and I was so scared to go. And I remember the guy that signed us in was our class president, who, I mean, I had gone to 12 years of school with him, and I didn't even know if he knew who I was. He was like, oh, Peter, it's so good to see you. It's great to see you, you know? And I, like, right off the bat, like, that was when we were signing and get our name tags. I can remember, like, right off the bat, I just was like, something feels different. And I don't know if it was, like, people had changed and grown over time, or, you know, gotten married and divorced and had kids. They'd grown up. I don't know what had changed, you know? But, like, something had changed. And I had so many people come up to me at that reunion and, you know, tell me, well, first of all, I had so many people that came up to me, many of which I didn't even know that had bullied me in high school or said stuff to me, that apologized, because they had seen these things I put on Facebook about it, right? Which I don't even use Facebook anymore, but at that time I had. And they had seen me put these things up there. There was this notes app that was like, or not this notes app, this like Facebook note thing that you could answer to, and it was like 10 things people never knew about you in high school. And one of them was that how afraid I was to go to high school every day, and the other one was I was afraid to walk across the stage at graduation because I was afraid that I would be so bullied, right? Or like people would say, call me the words that then my mother would have to sit there and listen to in the audience, right? And so I had a lot of people, that was how my bully initially reached out to me and wanted to apologize to me and sit down and talk to me. So at that reunion, I had so many people that came up to me and apologized and was like, I'm so sorry for how I treated you in high school. If I treated you some way, I don't remember, but if I did, I'm so sorry. But, you know, like, that's one of the things I remember, but really more of what I remember was, it was like the first moment that I really felt part of my high school graduating class, the class that I had been part of since kindergarten, you know, and never felt part of. But at that moment, I felt like I shined, and I think part of it was because I was happy. I was doing something that I loved in my life. I was with somebody that I loved. I was just really content, and really none of it had anything to do with my outward appearance whatsoever. Like, I don't remember anybody saying to me, maybe they did, maybe I've mentioned it in previous videos, but it's not the one thing I hold on to. I don't remember anybody being like, oh my God, you look so fantastic. I remember how some people look, but I don't remember thinking, God, they look great, or they look this way. I remember that we looked older, you know, but I don't remember ever looking at somebody and being like, oh my God, they look so heavy, or they look so thin, or they look fantastic. I just remember it being like, I don't know why I'm like getting emotional about this. I just remember like this moment of just sitting there with like these people that many of which weren't bullies of mine, but just kind of like stayed in the sidelines that I wanted like to be friends with in high school, or I thought was cool, that I wanted acceptance from, you know, and I never got it. And here I am, and I'm sitting at a table, and they're asking things about me, you know, and I'm going up to people, and I'm introducing myself, and they're like, oh, Peter, like, yeah, of course I remember you. It's so great to see you. And people are just treating me like a human being for the first time in my life, you know? And none of it had anything to do with, physically how I looked or how they looked, you know? And I think we get so fixated on that. And, you know, I think it was my 25 year came up, and I was on YouTube at that point talking about it, and what I think I was at that point. Would I have been? Maybe I wasn't. But anyway, my 25 came up, and it was on my birthday weekend. And I had plans to go to it and all this kind of stuff. Was planning with a friend of mine, another friend of mine that I was friends with in high school, to go to this high school reunion. And at the very last minute, it was my birthday weekend, I was asked by a friend of mine who she was in pageants and stuff and everything like that, if I wanted to go to St. Louis to be a judge in a pageant. And it had kind of been like my dream to judge this specific pageant for a long time. And so at the last minute, I decided I was going to go and judge this pageant. It was my birthday weekend and whatever. And that was the reason why I didn't go for the 25th. And then I do know that I talked a lot about my 30th. It was just recently, and there was only like 40 or 50 people that showed up to it. I mean, I graduated with 660 people. And so it was down to like 40 or 50 people. Like, nobody showed up for this reunion. And I saw the pictures, and it was kind of sad, but I was, to be honest with you, kind of glad that I didn't go. But, you know, I've asked myself a lot, because at that time that was coming up, that would have been, I don't know, a year or two ago, a lot of people, like, I talk about it in my vlog, and I'd be like, I don't know if I'm gonna go, I don't know. And people would be like, are you gonna go, are you gonna go, you know? And it's like, I don't know. I can remember when I went to the 20th and I left, saying to myself, I'm gonna go to every high school reunion that happens from here on out. Like, I had such a fantastic time. I had such a good time. In fact, my friend that had been like one of my greatest defenders in high school that I went through with, she was kind of upset, because she was like, you're accepting apologies from all these people that, like, I mean, she was kind of still stuck back then. And she was like, you're accepting all these apologies, and you're talking to these people, and it's like they're apologizing to you, and then the next second you're talking about, oh, where do you live? And like, what are you doing now? And you're like having these great conversations. She's like, I don't know how you forget so easily. And I'm like, you know, we grow up, we change, we grow, you know? I made friends that night from people that I never talked to in high school, that I still talk to today, you know? And this is the other thing, it took away all that fear. Like, any of those people, even my biggest bully group, I would have no problem today reaching out to them and asking them a question, or, you know, if I saw them in public or whatever. It took away all of that. What it made me realize was that the, you know, human experience of we're just people. Forgiveness is a powerful thing, and I've always believed, you know, like in the Oprah definition, that forgiveness is accepting that what happened in the past happened. Not that it was okay what happened, but it happened. And how are you going to choose to move on so that you're not held hostage to your past? And that's been one thing I've always asked myself with the bullying. You know, the bullying has forever given me scars and wounds that I probably will probably affect me for the rest of my life. I don't know that that's fixed by me showing up at a reunion looking super hot. I'm just gonna be honest, you know? I think one of my reasons of not really feeling the need to go to any more high school reunions, when I left that one and I felt such just acceptance, right? That I was like, I'm going to every high school reunion after this. But I think that one of the things that happened after that was that I got everything I needed from that reunion. You know, and I don't know if that makes sense, but like everything I was seeking and I was looking for, I got more than the Romeo and Michelle high school reunion. You know, I got all these people that came up to me, took responsibility for how they treated me back then, and on top of that were interested in my life, and they were like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? You guys have the coolest life. They were, and I thought, my life is so boring, you know? And they were asking me all these questions, and you know, it was like, I don't want to say it was this perfect moment, but it was as close to a perfect moment of what I thought that reunion would be like as possible. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't really felt the need to go to any of them afterwards, even though I feel pulled at the time. I'm like, I feel pulled to go, right? I don't really feel like that, because I don't think I want to go again and have a less of an experience. Like, I want to remember it that way, you know? Like, for me, when I look back on high school and school and all that kind of stuff and how bad I was bullied, it's a really bad memory. But that's one positive out of all of it, is that high school reunion, and looking at it and being like, well, that was one positive thing, you know, in the whole scheme of things. I can look back at that moment. So for anybody out there, if you're the person that left this comment is watching this, just go and enjoy, you know, your reunion. It really doesn't matter how we physically look. It just doesn't. Just go with an open mind. Go talk to people that you've never talked to before. Talk to people that you always wanted to talk to. We're all just human beings, you know? And so yeah, so I just wanted to share that on here today, because that was something I was thinking about when I read that comment. Because I think we get so twisted up about events, and we get so nervous, and especially somebody that has social anxiety like me, it takes a lot for me to go to those things. And so when I go, I just have to kind of like leave all of this at the door. But to get fixated on 6 months of trying to like look a certain way so that when you show up, like, I've done that, and that's not really what the experience is about at all. You know, Charlie Brown, that's not what it's about at all. That's the missed thing, right? It's about the human exchange and the human interaction, and I want that for all of you out there. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.